We're there.
We're there. Okay, so today is Karuna Day. Yeah, the second of the abidings of the Brahma Viharas, Karuna, compassion. A big one. It's a big one. And the Buddha never saw that as something special or something that we should. It's just a response to the reality that there is suffering in the world. He didn't say everything is suffering, but he said there is unavoidably woven into life suffering. And we all know that. And that there's a tendency for us to not want to turn towards suffering. It's a very natural tendency to not want to turn toward it, right? We want to acknowledge it. We can acknowledge it kind of cognitively. Yeah, I know, but we don't really like to turn towards suffering. Yeah, it's not part of our wiring. It's not part of our wiring to turn toward the difficult. Yeah, and compassion asks us, Karuna asks us to do that a little bit, to just turn toward it a little bit. And as Susan suggested yesterday, the truth of that is that can really only arise when there's at least some basic friendliness in the mix. Yeah, it's hard enough to turn toward it even when there's basic friendliness in the mix. Yeah, but when there's some friendliness there, then there's the possibility, the more natural possibility to turn a little bit more toward suffering. And karuna is not about fixing something, avoiding something. It's not about pity. It's about a simple acknowledgement and feeling into the acknowledgement that suffering is present, that suffering is present. And see, for many of us, maybe even most of us, it's a little bit easier to turn toward the suffering of someone else than to turn toward our own. And that's why we've finally seen this. That's why there didn't used to be much self-compassion practice taught or offered, in the 80s or 90s, and also in the classically in metta practice, for example, it's considered that the self, ourselves, it's easier to be friendly toward ourselves. It's easier to send compassion to ourselves. That may be true in the East or at another time in another culture, but it's not true here. It's not true here. And so the order actually of these teachings is switched around because it seems to be easier for us to send compassion, friendliness to others than to ourselves. That said, when we can send a little compassion to ourselves, it also warms up the heart a little bit more and makes it a little bit more available to tap into the suffering or the struggle of someone else, right? So first, this morning and in our meditation, when we meditate in a little while, there's going to be an invitation to send a little compassion, send a little karuna to some part of yourself. We're not going to choose the hardest thing, the most difficult thing, but something that something that you know about yourself, something that you don't particularly like about yourself, something that you haven't forgiven yourself for, something that when you think of it, you kind of tighten around it, or it's there, it's there. There's going to be an opportunity, though, not just to know it's there, but to feel that it's there. Yeah. Now, I do this. You may notice Susan and I from time to time. With this kind of, with some of this, I find I never used to do this. I never used to put my hand here, and I have found it to be super helpful. Especially when I'm trying to warm up to myself a little bit, because it's challenging. It's challenging for us too. It's challenging for all of us. It's challenging for all of us. We go through life and there's almost a kind of, I talked about casual attention yesterday. There's almost like a defensiveness in casual attention where, we do our life, we do this, we do that. Yeah, we know there's suffering out there. Yeah, we know there's suffering out here. But there's a tendency to not want to feel too much about either the suffering out there or the suffering in here. We got things to do, and it's like, okay, let's just, yeah. I know life is difficult, but I got to carry on. I got to, and so it's not a simple invitation. It's not a simple invitation, but it feels like an important invitation in the Brahma Viharas to say, okay, I get that it's hard, and I get that it's important. That karuna is important. That self-compassion is important. Yeah, and so it's taking a little time in your meditation to just choose. I find it easier to just choose one thing. I mean, we don't have to bring out the litany of all the things that we're struggling with within ourselves or get into a whole story with it. It's just taking one thing because we want to bring some mindfulness to it. We want to bring mindfulness and heartfulness to it, right? Something that just, yeah, that thing that keeps arising. It hasn't disappeared. It's not in the rearview mirror. I just want to feel into it a little bit more. I want to feel into it a little bit more. Yeah, I just want to feel and very simple. It's if you need to use words, it's like, oh right, there's pain here. It hurts. Suffering is present. Yeah, this is difficult. We don't need to do a dramatic story about it, and we don't need to spiritualize it, and we don't need to go, well, I should kind of be beyond that. And I know it's much easier for us to intellectualize karuna and compassion than to actually just drop into it, just drop into it. So it's just a simple acknowledgement, like, this is difficult. Yeah, this is dukkha. This is painful. This is a hard one. Mhm. This is a hard one. And yeah, it's a hard one, and we're turning toward it like we would turn toward a good friend who's suffering in some way. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's not a demand. It's also not expecting it. It's not like, now I see you. Now I want you to go away. Now I'm finally going to get to the bottom of this. And that's going to be that. You know, yeah, right. It's not any of that. It's a simple acknowledgement of the presence of it. This is one of the places where dukkha is very real for me. Might be something current, might be something still in the past. Use your discernment to choose, like I'm saying, not the most difficult thing, not the most challenging thing, because that's when we tend to get thrash around with the most difficult thing, and get it's something that's doable. That's like, yeah, you know, I've never liked it. I've never liked it. My impatience, and it gets me into trouble. I jump, I interrupt people. I don't know. It's hard for me to wait. Whatever it is, whatever that thing is for you, whatever that quality, it might be a quality of your personality that you just kind of keep on the, yeah, I know it's there, but it's just turning toward it and going, this hurts. This is like, okay, let me just send a little compassion in that direction, toward myself. Yeah, toward myself. Mm, Yeah. And then for those of you who are, and that's what we're going to do in the guided meditation here in a couple of minutes, right? Invite that practice, right? Invite that practice. Yeah, it's in the same territory as sending friendliness to ourselves, metta, but it's taking it one step further. This time it's turning towards something that is painful. There is pain connected with it, and sending compassion, offering compassion. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. And during your day, if you like, we'll certainly be suggesting this later on to also to the folks who are doing the householder retreat. During the day, then, you might all wish to um, bring to mind at some point one other person in your life. Could be just one other person you encounter during your day, and it's clear to you that that person is in pain, you know, and just feel into that for a moment. Not just like, yeah, I know my friend's hurting. I hope they're better. You know, we can do that in a kind of quasi, kind of a cognitive way too, you know, which is good. Yeah? But this is actually the heart feeling into that a little bit more, you know, and that's a little bit of an edge for us too. You know, just take a moment, you know, you don't have to stop your day to do it, but just offering that, you know, there's been research done on uh, what gets evoked in people when they walk by a homeless person, right? They've done this kind of a brainwave thing, and for a lot of people who walk by a homeless person, there is the same thing is going on in brainwaves as if they were just walking by something that was not human at all. In other words, there's a sense of not wanting to feel the pain, not wanting to feel it. That's not a judgment. It's just part of who we are. We don't want to directly feel into pain too much. And we all be different that way. But so anyway, there'll be an invitation during the day for all of you to play with that a little bit. It's strange to say play with compassion, but yet to just one person. Somehow it can be a more useful exercise in my experience to choose one person, maybe one person that I know who's hurting, rather than all beings, all people who are, you know, don't have enough food. That's okay too. They're, you know, that's a different kind of thing. But somehow we're also pack animals, and there's a way that we can, if we know somebody who's in pain, we can feel that as an exercise. You can play with that however you like, but in other words, during the day, it would be the meditation will do the compassion within. During the day, it will be compassion without. Find some way to lean into that a little bit, to explore that a little bit, you know, through your day today. Okay, so let's meditate together. Let's meditate together. Okay, we'll do a little compassion uh, meditation. Opening up. Now, when you're ready, just beginning to slow it down a little bit. Maybe lightly closing the eyes, and maybe a couple more little movements there as you're getting settled. And here at the beginning, of course, we always encourage cultivating a bit of ease, a bit of settledness, and a bit of comfort with the breath. Well, that's not like flicking a light switch. It takes some intention and some repeated intention to settle even a little for most of us. But it's staying with that as if that were an important, very important part of the practice. Creating a little foundation of ease, a little bit more ease. And there is the breath still moving in us. And when you've settled a bit, you don't need to rush the settling part, yeah? But when you feel ready, and to your degree and in your own way, beginning to turn a little towards something that's a bit difficult for you about you, something in there that's a bit unsettled, that you don't like so much, you're not particularly fond of. Keeping it simple. We don't want to necessarily, well, get involved in the story of all of it, what it's connected with, not all of that. We already know all of that, the story of it, right? Whatever it is. It's more the directness. It's something much more direct and simple. Yeah, this hurts. This is hard. With the feeling that goes with it, the feeling of, oh, and what I would do in a situation like this, say, hey, buddy, yeah, it hurts and that hurts. Yeah, 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 that's a tough one. It's okay. And so again, as we will always say with these Brahma Viharas, the most important uh, element is the intention to offer a little compassion to yourself. And we'll always say a little, just a little. Sometimes we set ourselves up for, well, my heart should just completely open. And so just a little bit is good. Feeling into it a little bit, intending to do that. And there's also no pressure to stay with it either. You know, touch into that for a couple of minutes, and then, okay, maybe coming back and resettling with the breath, softening. If it feels right, touching back into that again for a moment, maybe a little back and forth between whatever it is. And the settledness of the breath. Just exploring that in your way. Keeping it relatively simple. Mm, If it starts to get complicated, just coming back to settling in with the breath, coming back to basic friendliness. And touching back into friendliness in that way can create the space for a bit more compassion then to arise from that space. See if that's so for you. Hmm. That's up to you, but maybe settling back in the last few minutes of the meditation, softening. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all for your practice. I'm going to stop the recording, give you all